Welcome to the ECG podcast, the show where some East Coast buddies who have never met in person gather remotely once a week to hang out and talk about our love of video games and other shared interests. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Waterman, joined tonight by Mr. George Arevalo,
What up? What up?
Zach Cassell,
Howdy.
and we got Robbie Bobby Miller in the can only be described for our audio listeners as a uh, camera from the perspective of somebody waiting in line and staring at the ground. So he may or may not be in and out of the podcast, but if you've been with us for a while, you know it's Bobby. So expect the unexpected. On this week's episode for March 12th, 2021, we're going to be talking about our favorite innovations and mechanics in the history of video games. So we'll talk about what game that first appeared in and what our favorite or what we think are the best use of that game mechanic is. And then we're going to do a little mini spoiler cast for WandaVision at the end of the episode. So let us jump right in. Speaking of jump right in, good segue. So I'm going to go first for this particular segment, and I don't know, we'll do 2 or 3 apiece. I've got certainly 3. If one of you guys steal one, that's okay. I can always add another. I've got some backups. But my first choice is the double jump. I think the double jump is one of the coolest and most innovative and underrated mechanics to make its way into video gaming, especially in platformers, but it has been used in things like first-person shooters and even things like Rocket League to kind of make movement, traversal, combat more fun and interesting. So a little trivia about the double jump. The widely considered first use of the double jump came from, oops, I clicked off of it, sorry. Sorry guys for the dead air. Dragon Buster. And can you guys give me a guess?
That was my guess.
It was? Okay.
Not at all.
Oh, I thought I was like, oh, well done if it was. So the first year, guess when you think the double jump first appeared, like when that game came out, like just knowing what you know, which is probably only your own personal experience. Like just guess when the double jump would have been first seen.
What was the name of the game? I'm going off the name only.
Dragon Buster.
Dragon Buster.
It's got to be early 90s.
Man, I was gonna go earlier than that, right? When did was oh man.
So Super Mario Brothers came out in 1985. Like since that's the best well-known platformer, I'll
Is that kind of double jumping?
Was there a double jump?
No. There's not. I'm just saying if you want to kind of gauge the history of
I don't know if you
games,
count the flying.
there wasn't even flying in the OG Mario Brothers. Like,
no, but I mean,
all right, I'm guessing 89.
89. How about you, George?
I'll go with 91.
So 1984. So a full year before Mario Brothers even came out, there was a double jump in Dragon Buster. Now, as far as like games that like I feel like probably did it best or my favorite use of the double jump, I probably got to go with. I'm gonna say, is there a double jump in Super Metroid? I think there is, right?
I am not sure.
Just Google that. I think there is.
I don't know which Metroid, but I know that eventually it's in some of them there is. Yeah, like you would be able to jump when you turn into like a little. You would then jump and then turn into the ball and jump a second time, I think.
Nah, it doesn't look like there is a double jump. I was gonna say because like that's the concept of
or
like
maybe
upgrading
I'm
and
thinking Smash
backtracking.
Bros or some shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I will probably I'm gonna pick something a little off the beaten path, and I'll explain my reasons why. Probably my favorite use of the double jump is, believe it or not, George, you're gonna laugh your ass off, Destiny. And I say that because there's variations of the double jump. There's 3 very different versions of the double jump that I think are creative in their own way. So you have the more traditional version of the double jump in the Hunter, where you kind of just hop. You have a very floaty, weird Warlock double jump where you kind of have to like get the upward momentum and you kind of float and do like a long arc. And then you have the Titan, which is more of like like a very fast boost and then kind of straight down. So
I feel like our listeners and viewers need a little bit of context just at the irony of this, because Chris is by far the worst at jumping.
yes. But on my warlock,
in,
I have no problems on like my hunter. Like I love jumping around on my hunter, but unfortunately the hunter is not my main. It's my least played class probably. So, but yes, I'm terrible at jumping in Destiny.
but I
Um,
agree. Destiny does have some good jumps, though I do enjoy the Warlock Icarus dash, which is probably one of the funner things to do in that game for sure.
for traversal, yeah. So yeah, there's variations. Like there's like the mid-air dash. So you see games like Doom where like they have double jumps, especially Doom Eternal, and then there's like a mid-air dash to kind of add a little spice to it. But that's my first pick. Yeah, double jump. I think it's an awesome innovation. It made platformers especially a lot more interesting when you could kind of do a little more mid-air correction and stuff like that. So who would like to go
I,
next?
I'll go next. I only really had two, but but I feel like one is kind of like very similar to what you are, so I'm gonna briefly touch on it and then give my real one and then think of something else. But
Yeah, sure.
double jump is really cool, but what I always enjoyed specifically in those old platformers or some old like Super Nintendo games is the jumping off of like the second jump but off of a wall type thing. I don't know what you would call it, but you know
Wall
that
jump.
some
Yeah.
games,
Wall jump.
yeah, the
Like
wall,
Mega
yeah,
Man X
sorry,
where
the
you
wall
could go.
jump, right?
Yeah.
Where you would have to go like that. That was really, really fun to time, because I liked it more than double jump early on because it felt like there was a little bit more to it, a little bit more skill behind it, just other than just being able to do it all the time. There was timing into it, and I always found it super satisfying to be able to go all the way up like that, zigzagging up some sort of walls and stuff like that. I just thought it was really cool.
So a
Um,
little
I-
trivia. The first game to have kind of a version of it is the Wall Cling, which is Ninja Gaiden in 1988. But
oh
not strictly because you could go back and forth, but
yeah.
you like clutched onto it. The two wall climb where you like can jump off like the wall to wall like repeatedly looks like it's a Sega Master System game called Alex Kidd and Shinobi World
Yeah, a lot of
1988.
those ninja games had it. I feel like it's something that you don't really see much of anymore. Now that I think about it, it's a shame that you don't like Assassin's Creed hasn't like incorporated it some way. I feel like that would be the game to do it. It'd probably be less timing and probably just automatic, like when you're running up stuff. But it'd be cool to see that in that game. I don't know if they've included it at some point, but I know that it hasn't been in there for a bit, anyways. But my real one would be teleporting. Um, like I love the teleporting mechanic. Like I don't know how far back that dates. That you can fact check that, Chris. But I think for me, as far as I could remember, it was first like in the Mortal Kombat games where you could teleport with Raiden, and kind of pop in through some other stuff. But as games have progressed, I feel like teleporting or phasing or shifting in general has been really cool because it it it, it adds a like a different layer of playing a game. The fact that you could do it without any loading times or anything like that, and it could actually impact, you know, you avoiding stuff or going through things. I think it's super cool. Destiny has some cool versions of that. Friday the 13th, the teleporting Jason is pretty cool as well. I feel like I don't know if it was really teleporting, but Dishonored had some versions of that as well. The original, where you could kind of just go through really fast with some stuff. I think that's really cool, where you can basically move your entire location of your character without a loading screen, right? So I don't know how difficult it is to incorporate that into games, but I just thought that that was always neat. Entirely move your entire character um, in the blink of an eye. So it's really really fun mechanic.
Hard to find. I'm looking like, I mean, definitely Mortal Kombat, right? Raiden had the like,
The
is it
portals
Raiden
and
where you
stuff like
could,
that. Yeah, you go
um,
like this and go up, then appear somewhere else or come up out of the ground and stuff like that. That's the earliest that I could think of something like that.
yeah, I,
Without including like Mario, right? Because I mean, like I don't know, going through the little
that's
Nah,
heights and
different.
stuff,
You're
but
talking about within a single screen, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah. Let me try that first video game with single screen teleportation. And then I think like even shooters, it was very very cool. Like some of the Unreal games had like a, I don't know if you ever saw like where you could shoot the disc and it would arc, and then if you hit the button again, hit the key again, you would warp to where that disc was. So like you could use
Yeah.
it for click capture the flag to traverse the map very quickly. That was really, really neat.
Oh yeah, you could see that in Halo and stuff. Yeah. Um. Yep.
Cool. How about you, Zach? Give me a game mechanic while I'm looking this up.
I don't know if it's so much of a mechanic, more of as a I don't want to say a mode, but like it's asymmetric multiplayer, right? Is that
I think that's fine. Yeah, that qualifies.
yeah,
Fitting for your background.
right? Yeah. I didn't know that you could actually play Evolve like still to this day, so I've been doing that. But yeah, man, I love it. Friday the 13th game, Dead by Daylight, Evolve, um, Left 4 Dead had it with the zombie mode against the humans. The Predator game. I mean, it's definitely more of a modern thing. Uh, caught on more recently, and I love it, man. I'm such a big fan of it. I love the whole, um, outnumbered but not necessarily outgunned type deal, and I think it's awesome. Winning on one side versus the other, it's awesome either way. You feel like you actually accomplished something. Either beating whatever the larger group is, or being able to take down the vastly more powerful, single entity. So yeah, that's I love asymmetric multiplayer. I think it's awesome.
I think that's an awesome mechanic because for me, like I haven't played those games as much as I should have. Because obviously you need to find a group for it. That's the shitty part about it. It's so much more fun when you've got friends to play that with. But that's like living out your childhood fantasies of like playing Manhunt, Cops and Robbers, or even like hide and seek, right? Where it's just like this one, the person who's it, and then everybody else, and then that stuff is really cool. When you can play like in a group, a small group. But asymmetrical multiplayer, and some of the games that have done a good job of rolling it out can be so much fun. Like just I wouldn't say mindless fun, but just like you don't even really need the objective. You can just keep playing games over and over and over, and it's fun. I think about that time when we all picked up Dead by Daylight, in those 2 weeks that we played it. Like, is it a great game? No. But is it like stupid fun that we could just play with no, just for shits and giggles? Like, yes, absolutely, man. Like I could play a game at any moment if we have the people to do it and have some fun. That was a good bit of fun for sure. So that's a good pick, man.
Yeah, I don't think it's going away like either. I think people are still trying to figure out interesting ways to do that, to be innovative with it, trying to make it work. So yeah, that's definitely a cool
I'm
pick.
hoping that we see, what made Evolve great in the sense of the asymmetric portion of it transition to Back for Blood when because they're definitely going to do a zombies versus humans PvP type deal. I think I saw, and yeah, I'm excited to see how that maybe how they learn from Evolve. They're able to pull that over, and with all the different super zombie types, like the special zombies and everything. It'll be interesting to see how they're able to pull that off.
I would love to see some sort of like Dead by Daylight on steroids. Now I understand Friday the 13th was pretty good. In the end, it's pretty good, but I felt like in some ways it was a little bit overcomplicated, especially for a new player late in the game.
And it was
But
janky.
yeah, but if like man, if somebody really put the resources and time into something like that and actually made it like more balanced and fun, like Dead by Daylight is cool, but like it can kind of be a little bit boring if you're the
The humans.
the humans, right? Like just the only way out is really escaping. I'd
I
like to
think the
see a little bit
maps are just
more offensive.
boring as fuck on
That's
that.
why
Yeah,
Evolve is awesome, man, because like
yeah,
you're hunting, you're actually, everybody's got a role, you spread out, everybody knows what you got to do. And then the monster, obviously, the monster, the more he eats, the powerful he more powerful he gets, more
yeah,
abilities. So yeah, man, if they were able to like whatever, get like AAA budget behind it, and
yeah.
yeah, I would love to see that.
And I'd love to see it like be like where like both sides need to be aggressive. where it encourages aggression, because that's the thing is like you can kind of wait out time in some of these games too, which makes it kind of boring. You know, if you're just trying to play to win, like just make it like where it's like both
Incentivize it.
sides are, yeah, both sides are on the offensive all the time. Would be cool, and don't be afraid to spice it up. It doesn't have to be 1v4, you know, but
Yeah.
2v8, 2v6, you know, or 2v4, something like that. Maybe there's different, you know, I feel like there's going to be at some point somebody that really dedicates some time to a game like that that could be really, really, really fun, you know?
I hope
You
so.
know, make a battle royale where it's like 10 people and like 80, you know, something like that. It could be a lot of fun, man, if you think about it. It could really take off. It doesn't have to be just one person against four or six or something like that or whatever it
How
is.
cool would that be, right? Like to have think of like 1 versus 100, right? Like
Yeah.
one, like whatever, once every hour or something, a random person's chosen to be like a huge monster in a battle royal game, and you can just go and cause mayhem, and like they can either like choose to team up and take you down or fucking
Or convert, like you could convert, think about like, you know, you could convert somebody over to your sides. I don't know. There's a lot of
hell
possibilities
yeah.
out there. If they put the resources behind it, it could be a lot of fun.
New tech too on
Um,
the new gen, man. You never know. Something like that could be in the works.
yep, got to copyright that shit in case someone steals my idea.
So Bobby did send me something in the chat. I'm assuming he's talking about the Nemesis system
Yeah,
from
I
Lord of the
think he
Rings,
is.
which is singular. They have now trademarked that as of like pretty recently, I think. Like, which is kind of a shame because I would love to see that in other games,
Oh yeah.
or a
Imagine that in a
version of
Batman
it.
game.
Oh, shut up, man! Don't tease me. Um, you know, for listeners that are unfamiliar with the Nemesis system or have not played those games, essentially it is a emergent, for lack of a better word, like hierarchy that happens in your gameplay specific to what you do. So like think of like an Assassin's Creed fort, and you're in the fort, you're fighting through, and a guard manages to kill you, land the killing blow, doesn't go so well. Now, in the Lord of the Rings universe, that guard will now become stronger and will climb the ranks and go from just a low level piece of shit orc to like a boss, or maybe like, you know, like a sub boss or something like that. They may hunt you down like and show up randomly in the world, and it is completely unique to you. Um, you may also like get into a fight, they may run away, get away, like, and their names, their features take on things that you did. So if you set them on fire, you might be Gorlock the Burned or something like that. Like, it's a very, very, very cool system that changes throughout like your campaign, and like it just adds like this level of personality and uniqueness to your particular playthrough that makes it very, very special, sets it apart from.
And it's so much better than just the average boss.
Is
That's the best thing is people can move up and beat you. It reminds me of God of War with the Valkyries. Like if they had a system set up like that, I mean the Valkyries kicked my ass for a long time. But if it was something like that, I love the boss system. Sorry, I came in late.
Okay.
Hey, but um, but I thought that was by far one of the coolest things I've seen in games in a long time. So I figured that was my one and only pick.
Fuck yeah. Well, we might jog your. I think it's a great pick. And again, I'm sad that it's copyrighted. We might jog your memory a little bit more as we talk through. So like, feel free to jump in. Like, you don't need to put it in the chat. You can just hang on to it. So my next pick is health recharging. Right. So think like Halo, like the do 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 do, where like you get down to that blinking and then it comes back. I think that was a huge innovation. You know, you saw games like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare. It may have been in like, yeah, it was in prior Call of Duties. Like kind of copy that, like not having to pick up health anymore as an option, at least for your shooter, I think was huge, especially for multiplayer. You could play a little more like tactically. Cover became a lot more important, but yeah, I think it's a very, very cool innovation for not just first person shooters, really. I mean, you see it in third person action adventure games and a lot of different franchises and genres.
That's a double-edged sword in my opinion, because that's also, in my opinion, the birth of the camper. Um, you know, for sit back, get into a firefight, get out, hide, get recovered, rinse and repeat. Because there is something to be said about games where you don't get your health back, where it's like, all right, let me take as many people down with me before I get a new set of health and life. But yeah, I think that mechanic appeals more to the mainstream, and it's made FPS is what they are today for sure.
It may have made Avengers a good game.
God, nothing can make that a good game.
I've never played it,
All
so
right.
I don't.
And they're making it. Did you see that they're making it harder to level up in that game, and it was already hard to
Game
level
is a
up.
fuck.
Yeah, I
They're
bought it. I was going to open it until they said that.
Just return that shit. I mean,
they're
Chris
fine
has it for
it's a-
free if he wants to play it from us game sharing, and I don't think he's
I
even
forgot.
bothered
I don't even
downloading
care.
it.
No.
I haven't finished.
It's a classic
campaign.
wonder for video game. Not to go too far in the woods, but like a lot of these games as a service, like the way they judge the health, and I think incorrectly so. They need to get off this, but like the way that they typically judge the health of the game is how many concurrent players are playing. I think game devs need to get comfortable with there being lulls like in between like big content releases and just like embrace that and not see it as a sign that your game is unhealthy, but rather that people are taking some time off to play other stuff. And that when you come with a big content release, you'll see that surge of players. Making it more grindy is not the answer. That is not going to bring new players in, and it's certainly not going to keep your old players wanting to come back. Like,
Yeah, it reminds me of SOCOM, because SOCOM confrontation was so good, but the maps were way too big for 16 versus 16 or 32 versus 32. And then they just said, hey, look, not enough people are playing it. We're going to kill it. But it's still to this day, everybody hates that they killed that, and SOCOM 4 was garbage.
Those old SOCOM games are great, but
so the first game with health regeneration is technically credited as Punch Out from '83. But in the way that we think of it, Hide Light is really the one where you escape damage, and as long as you're not taking damage, that's when your health recovers. I think Punch Out was maybe the first game where you could get health like back, but it wasn't like an automatic like kind of refill kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything to add? Anybody want to add before I go back around to you, George?
Nope.
Fantastic. Give me another game mechanic or innovation.
Okay, so I do have to go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just go with Halo. I was gonna say like the game that I think did it best or enjoyed it, because that was like the first like modern example, and there was the combination of the health regen, but also the little bars, if you recall, like in the original Halo, where like you could pick up health packs to like fill in the little like
I think so. Yeah,
slots, but anyway, I
Did
digress.
GoldenEye and Perfect Dark for the N64 not have anything like that?
They had like health bar and a body armor bar.
Oh, right. Like you could only recover a certain amount, but you were kind of like handicapped unless you picked the that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
Right on.
Sorry to cut you off.
So for me, oh man, I can't believe I forgot about this. And I could be wrong about where it originated, but I'm pretty sure it was the Max Payne series, and that's Bullet Time.
Yeah.
Hey.
Bro, like, come on, man. Like, it was right around Matrix time and shit like that, like, that was so much fun. Being able to slow things down while you're, like, going off to the side and just kind of a broken mechanic in games. But, man, for single-player games like that, it was really immersive and super cool. It allowed you to take on like large groups of enemies at the same time while still feeling like like it was very interactive, so I think a lot of games have put it out since then. I mean, trying to think, lots of things have variants of that of Bullet Time or whatever I think
Even like Red Dead, Bullet Time. Like Red Dead has Bullet Time.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
Red Dead. And even some multiplayer games, you got Grand Theft Auto. You see a little bit in Overwatch with some people is like it doesn't really slow down the time, but I also think like that thing where you can target multiple people at once and then your character acts, even though it's not actually slowing down the time. I think that is something that derives from Bullet Time. Being able to target a bunch of things and then your character will act after it in like in quick succession. So I think it's cool bullet time itself is cool, but all the things that have come after it since then are also pretty cool. And it's something that is tough to balance, especially in multiplayer game. But man, does it make it fun when you can do that.
It was a great way to like heighten that like feeling of being like an action hero in a game. There even first person shooters, a lot of them have things where like it'll slow down time. It's just it's cool. And um I'll add that like there's been innovations. I don't know if you guys have ever played Super Hot, but especially in VR, that's a great example of a game that allows you to kind of use the slowed down time. It's a built-in mechanic, but also like I love watching the replay, like because everything that looks slowed down, like it feels cool while you're doing it, but then watching it all in fast motion, you feel like a fucking action star, like just watching it all come together. You're like, all right, I shot this dude, I threw this knife at this guy, and like, in real time, it's just so fucking cool. I think that's a good pick.
I don't give a shit what anyone says, man. I loved Max Payne 3 and the
Oh,
bullet time in that
What are you
game.
kidding me? That game's great. Who doesn't like Max
Who-
Payne 3?
There are so
Yeah.
many people out there, man, who berate Max Payne 3 for like
Stop it.
for
Stop it.
deviating from what Max Payne 1 and 2 were.
It's another example of a game that gave people what they didn't know.
I fucking
Which
love
one was Max
Payne
Payne? Is
3.
that the one with the dog, or did they all have the dog in it? It was one game where you could kind of tell the dog to go do stuff. Just my favorite.
I don't remember it.
I don't remember,
game.
but Max Payne 3, man.
It's where he's like down in the like
Brazil,
somewhere in, like Central or Latin. I was gonna say like South America.
Somewhere-
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm thinking Dead to Rights. That was very like it was a Max Payne knockoff. Dead to Rights for like.
Oh, I
think it
remember
was, like-
Dead to Rights, man. Yeah,
You
you
know
were
what
a
I'm
cop,
talking about? Yeah, you were a cop.
and you
yeah,
had the
it's Dead
dog.
to
Yeah,
Rights.
yeah.
Yeah, there was some sort of bullet time in there, and you could tell your dog to do stuff. That was a good game, man. Yeah.
But no, Max Payne 3
Shadow.
is great, man. Like is it the Max Payne that like is it like 1 and 2? No, but I think that's what made it a great like third entry. Is that like
Yeah.
I
I think by the time you got to the third installment of that game, it's like, listen, man, they're just trying to give us more Max Payne. All right, they didn't have this whole thing mapped out to give you these great storylines. It's just fun action gameplay, like,
And it
shut
was
up,
so
man.
good. It was like
I love this.
I feel like that's almost as close to a John Wick game as we've had yet.
Yeah, man. I wouldn't be opposed to reviving that series, man.
The
Hell no.
airport level music was also great. I'm just gonna say, like the
Is that the trailer song?
Yeah.
I have that song on my iPod, strictly off that game. Well, not my
fucking great.
iPod, on Spotify, strictly my iPod, strictly because of that game. It's
Alright.
Health by Tears or Tears by Health. It's one of them.
Yeah, could be pretty interchangeable names. Yeah. How about a mechanic, man? Hit us with something.
So I've only done it in Destiny personally, but I know based off me doing it in Destiny how great it is, and I just crave it in like every game that has come out since then is raids, and I think they're incredible. And like I've watched other people play raids in other games and stuff like WoW and stuff like that, and raids are just like the coolest like best way to take everything a game has to offer, right, and make you have to like cooperate, and that's what I love about it. And all trying to solve a puzzle together, and the euphoria of doing that for the first time, and it's an awesome feeling, and not not looking up how to achieve anything, and accomplishing everything as a team, and being let down by the gear afterwards.
Yeah, that's the by the drops or lack of drops, for sure. I think you could even like I thought about throwing this out there, but I can kind of piggyback it here. Like the same thing as some of those MMOs, right? The end game in some of those MMOs that require like 12, 18 people plus, right? Like I think that's awesome where you got like those massive amounts of coordination. Destiny is cool because it has so much puzzle mechanics in its raids, which is great, right? But even in those big MMOs where like WoW or Final Fantasy, where you've got to come together with massive amounts of people to make things happen, is great, man. And that's, I think multiplayer is at the end of the day the heart of gaming. Being able to kind of connect with other people and come together to achieve a common goal is a lot of fun. And man, I can't think of a whole lot of things that are more rewarding than getting that first clear, getting that drop, and obviously they can be controversial sometimes when they're stingy and whatnot, but I just think of I think of some of those MMOs, or I think of some of our first clear in some of those Destiny raids. Like that feeling is fucking awesome. Where you're like, fuck yeah, fuck you. We fucking got it. Like that. That is. I don't think a whole lot in gaming can compare to that. When you finally get over the hump on some of those things, or finally get that drop that you've been after for such a long time. That's what does it for me in gaming lately. So that's a great fucking pick for sure, man.
Yeah, when I first beat the Vault of Glass, like it was like I felt so accomplished. It was like the coolest thing I've ever done, because like figuring out your way through the Gorgon maze and everything, like that was so rewarding, because that, if you didn't know what you were doing, was so hard. And it was just, yeah, it's such an awesome feeling. I wish more games managed to.
They're trying,
Yeah, they definitely are.
They're like, I just, man, like it's tough. It's easier said than done, I think. Like, and you've seen like Division try and fail. Like,
Yeah.
No,
I've heard
again and again. Like you need to. Sorry, Chris, to cut you off, but it's
good.
like you need, like somebody needs to poach someone from Bungie and pay him top dollar to start coming up with their kind of shit. Because like it seems like these games that repeatedly fail time and time again is because they start with the premise of raid or big group activity means I need to add more HP to an already like common enemy. Just more HP and make them hit harder. Like if that's where you start when you're making your end game content, or a time limit, you're fucking done. And Destiny's guilty of it too. But when it comes to their actual raids, like Destiny is fucking second to none. When it comes to 6-man activities, like small group activities,
especially
right?
on consoles, right? They're like the only one.
Of course, I'd love to see Destiny come out with something that requires more than 6 people or something like that. It would be super cool. But when it comes to like 6-man, like small groups, like Destiny is fucking top notch when it comes to that. But then these other games, like I don't understand. Destiny has the blueprint laid out for you. Like, what are you doing? And if you just give me something that has more HP, they're more tanky, like that isn't fun. It's just not fun. Anthem did it. Division did it.
The closest thing
Avengers
that's come
did
to
it.
it that I've seen that's been really well received is Ghost of Tsushima. Actually, like like apparently that raid is really good. Like a lot of the people that are Destiny fans,
which we need to fucking play.
Yeah,
but I think
I'm down. It's what, 3 people, right? 3 or 4?
4. It's 4. I think it's 4 people.
Yeah, I'd be
There's
down.
4 classes, but
I've never even touched that game mode yet.
You know what the problem with that game is, and I think that game sells itself short because nobody knew that was coming. If I knew that was coming, I might have taken more time with the game. I might have slowed down a little bit. But that mode came out of nowhere after I was done with the game. It's very hard to like finish a very satisfying, rewarding single player experience and then pick it up later without it having actual DLC. Like that continues the story. So it's weird, but I feel like I owe it to that game, or owe it to myself to play that mode. It's hard to get back into that. Like I don't even remember how to play that game.
Yeah, the stances, I couldn't tell you like which stands for what, like enemy type. So I'd have to like, definitely do. The good news is you level up before you go do the raid. It's not like you have to hop right in there. So like there'd probably be a little bit of a learning curve. But yeah, good pick, man. Bobby, do you have another one you want to add, or like should I circle back around to myself?
That's a quiet go fuck yourself.
Nah, I think he's driving or
No,
doing something. So, all right. I am debating on what I want to go with these two things. Kind of want to go with like something more combat oriented.
Since you said that, I'm just to throw it out there because I'm not going to use it, but free flow combat in Batman's fucking awesome.
It is, yeah. That's definitely a pretty unique thing for sure. I'm gonna go with like the idea of like the parry, the block, counter, like deflect, whatever you want to like call that, like the ability to like perfectly time like a button push to counter what an enemy is doing. Like, so different names in different games, but nothing makes you feel more powerful or good at a game than like nailing that and then basically being invincible because like you can't be touched, like being able to stay toe to toe. Um, you could think of something like Dark Souls or Sekiro, but even like I just played, finished the what's Cyber Shadow, and there was a mechanic that was very different with that, where like you had to like kind of like hit the forward button and then like the slash, and it would freeze a projectile in place, and then you could chop it with your sword whenever you wanted to, and it would send it flying. Like that's awesome. Like when you can get good at that. So I think that's my final pick.
Chris, would you say like when you include pairing, do you include any kind of pairing or the ones that are specifically timing based?
Um, give me an example of like what you're thinking of, and I'll tell you if I consider it.
So one of my it was very satisfying because I was young at the time, but when I think about it now, it's kind of cheap, right? So if you ever played the like first couple Assassin's Creed games, right? Like 1, 2, and I guess 3 or whatever, Brotherhood. So they had a parry mode that was very aesthetically pleasing, but it required no skill because you could just hold, I think it was L1 or whatever, or hold the left trigger, and you'd have a stance where no matter who attacked you, you'd parry it. You wouldn't parry it and attack like a riposte per se,
Yeah.
but it would have this really really cool, like you'd have your sword out or whatever, or like a rapier out, and they would attack you and you would just boom, it felt so cool because I felt like the first couple Assassin's Creed games really nailed that group um combat, kind of like those old martial arts movie where people, more than one person wouldn't really attack you at once, but it looked like it was a big group attacking you.
Yeah.
So even though that one required zero skill whatsoever, it was still very satisfying. So that's why I asked that. But then again, you can't compare that to like Sekiro when you have to be like on your shit when it comes to timing those parries, and those feel really cool too, but for a different, reason altogether.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to like, so Street Fighter 3, the Third Strike is what I see like listed as like one of the first games where you could um follow a successful parry with another parry to avoid being hit by quick follow-up attacks. And it would completely negate, like, so there was no damage taken when you did it, so it's different than blocking. um but yeah, I mean, it's something that like if you master in the original Dark Souls, the final boss is like the most trivial guy. Like he's the only boss you can parry, and it's kind of like the dessert at the end of a long, tough journey where it's like, hey, did you learn how to do this? Like, if so, like great, like you can kick this guy's ass, like no problem. Otherwise, like good luck. Like I mean, he's not impossible, but like it's a lot harder. And then of course, like with like Sekiro is a modern example, like that game was all about like the timing, boom boom boom, block block strike strike block block, like awesome awesome awesome. I think it adds again to that kind of fantasy of being a accomplished like swordsman, or like fist fighter, like whatever it is. So
I do love the games where it gives you the option, right? Like there are some games like those Assassin's Creed games where blocking and parrying is essentially the same thing. You just hold the button, right? But I love the games that give you the choice. Like, hey, you can block, you'll take a little bit of damage, like significantly reduced damage, or fortune favors the bold. If you parry it, you take no damage, but you fuck it up, you're gonna get hit hard. So I love those games that kind of give you that choice if you want to try to go for the parry and go for broke, and it has like good rewards at the end if you're able to pull it off. Like some of those sword fights, those one-on-one sword fights, is straight up sword fights. Some of the mechanics in Sekiro, like when you're fighting the big demon or whatever that I never beat legitimately, whatever. But like I think of like the owl fight or the Genichiro fight, like those are so satisfying when it's just straight up swordplay and you're landing those parries. It's great, man. It's a great mechanic.
all right, and without further ado, give me your final, if you have a third one. If you don't, it's okay.
I'm between two, and I'm gonna throw them both out there because one is super simple, one is kind of crazy. So I'll just put them both out there. The one that's very simple is Fireball Motion. You know, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, just that down to the right, and then whatever the attack button is to create a fireball. Um, like projectiles in fighting games were really, really cool. Timing those are really awesome, and they're very satisfying. From Dragon Ball Z games, Street Fighter games, Mortal Kombat games, Like literally, that motion is called fireball motion, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just going down, it's sliding to the right. And being able to replicate that from like arcade games to just console games and controller games, is really cool. And like no matter what game you play, whether it's a brand new, like a modern game, a new game, fireball motion almost always does something in every fighting game. Like which is great. Like even if you don't know what the fuck you're doing in a brand new game, you can make it. You could do something by doing fireball motion and pressing A or whatever the action button is. So, that's a lot of fun.
I
I don't
believe
know
it
if you
was
guys have any
Sub
comments.
Zero's like freeze attack, like in Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat, for example. Like,
Yep. Freeze attack. It was also if I'm not no get over here was I think back and B or something
Yeah,
like
back
that, or
B.
backwards, right? Then you've got the Hadouken. Like I mean, it's nothing more iconic than that, right? If you played those old Dragon Ball Z Super Nintendo or PlayStation like fighting games were really really good. Had a lot of that as well, and I'm pretty sure that today's Mortal Kombat games or fighting games have the same kind of thing.
probably.
I know. I sure as hell know the new Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z game has that as well. So it's fun. It's simple, tried and true, and I don't know of a game mechanic or like a function in the game that is like stood the test of time other than fireball motion. Like it's fucking clutch. Um, the other like the more crazy mechanic out there has to be I don't even know if it necessarily qualifies as a mechanic, but for me, hands down, the best game or the first game to really put out the full use of the Force is that Jedi Outcast Jedi Academy game, which was this multiplayer Star Wars game. Everyone's a Jedi, everyone's a Force user. But being able to finally use the Force in a video game that made you feel ridiculously powerful, right? I mean, that's the tough part with Jedi's in general, right? That they're like space wizards that are super OP and have all these powers. But finally, being able to do that in a game in a multiplayer setting where it felt somewhat balanced because everybody could do it was so much fun. Whether it's throwing your lightsaber, force choke, force lightning, all these things, it was just complete madness. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it had up to 16 players in that multiplayer game in one of those Jedi Academy games. But I think it was like, one of the first couple games that actually really captured just how strong you can be with the Force in a multiplayer setting. Was fucking bananas, man. Absolutely bananas and a lot of fun. I'm sure there are other things, other games that had similar type of mechanics in there, but I feel like the Force is iconic. Being able to use all those powers is iconic, and that was like a dream come true to be able to get that.
Well, you had like force lightning and stuff in there too. Like they had dark side powers
Yeah.
too. So there was
Yeah,
choke
yeah.
and-
You get dark side or bright force push, force lightning, force choke, state like force stasis, all these things. It was, it's one of those games where at the time it was like fun, but when you look back at it now, like it was like really ahead of its time, like really, really, really cool. And I don't think it got the credit that it deserved. Like I know people enjoyed it, but when you think about it, man, it was very, very innovative in its own right with what it was able to pull off and on the original Xbox, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, PS2. You're correct, and PC. Obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. Zach, final pick from you.
My final pick would be games that give you meaningful choice, like Mass Effect and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
pretty that would also be my guess. My pick for which game does it best. And I just hope that their next iteration, they can stick the landing better for the end. So, but yeah, man, I love games with choice, and it's like makes it just immerses you so much more, right? Like because all your actions have consequences, and it's just makes everything feel more important, and it's awesome. And
Oh yeah.
Mass Effect was the first game that I really played that. Well, no, I mean I played Knights of the Old Republic, but I was young when I played that. So yeah, I would say Mass Effect was really my first foray into that. And I still think it's the best, even to this day, from what I've played. So Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I think Mass Effect 2 is like my favorite game of all time, probably. Like, bang for your like everything all around, it's great. And I like that you brought up Knights of the Old Republic, but I think Mass Effect like perfected the choices. Like Knights of the Old Republic had a lot of choices too, but at the end of the day, at the end of the games, I love those games. Great games. I hope they come back. But it felt like no matter what you chose, like you either had the good ending, the good guy ending, or the bad guy ending, right? Mass Effect 2, like the suicide mission, like no matter whether you were a good guy or bad guy, the people that you lost based off the choices that you made, like it wasn't just narrowed down to two routes, right? Like there is the Paragon and the Renegade, routes, but the things that happen on the along the way matter, right? The side quests matter, the choices you made up until the end mattered, and it would affect like how many people would survive or make it through to the end of the game. And then, of course, I think other games did this as well, but I think Mass Effect also perfected the choices affecting the next game thing. Being able to import your saves into the next game and the next game. There were things that there were choices you made in Mass Effect 1 that you didn't see affected until Mass Effect 3, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal. So that's a great pick, man. Chris, you had something, I think.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like, it, it was definitely innovative for its time. You can kind of see a little bit more of like the threads like now, but I think it was the biggest kind of jump in narrative storytelling was like the fact that you could have consequences, and more importantly, like that you would have pause and deciding what to do, like meaningful consequences and choices was super huge at the time. And I say you can kind of see some of the threads a little bit clearer now, like coming as far as we have, like thinking back to like where it all kind of ends up, like, and like there's not a whole lot of variation because they wanted to kind of keep like some semblance like of like the same story from player to player, but yeah, like it's uh I think one of the better innovations in narrative storytelling for sure, like for video games. And I hope it continues to evolve, honestly. Like one of the things I loved, like, one of these days, like maybe I'll crank down the difficulty to easy, like, but like I thought Outer Worlds was like so underrated with like how much variety there. It was a very dense game, but like apparently you can play that game as a complete idiot, and like the way people react to you is like very funny, and that's something that I didn't get any kind of glimpse at because I played as like a kind of a techie like gunslinger, like was like my class. So I'd love to like, see more games kind of incorporate like the moment to moment kind of choices as well as like the big narrative stuff, just to kind of have variety, and incentive to come back and play.
Yeah,
Right,
for
like
sure. I think.
Red Dead did that well. I'm sorry, George, go ahead.
No, no, no. You're good, man. Go ahead.
Red Dead did that moment to moment thing well, right? Like if you continuously rob people and stuff, like people take note of that, and you become uh what's the word I'm looking for? Like people don't like you. Like you walk into a Strawberry, I think that's the name of the town, and you walk in there, and people will like make snarky remarks at you, and like that maybe they'll spit at you, or if you walk into a bar after causing a fight in a bar, they'll be like, hey man, you better not cause any trouble like you did last time, like, and they remember you and stuff. So it's super cool, and that's not touted as an RPG, so like that's even cooler. So like I can't wait to see how the next Mass Effect hopefully is able to, you know, do stuff like that where if you're just walking around doing side quests and stuff, and whatever you kill in an alien, I don't know, like they take note of that. Like you maybe like you go to the Citadel or something, and like there's like whatever. I don't know. I'm going way too far, but like wanted this guy or whatever. But like, yeah, man, it's so cool, and I love it, and I hate when games try to do it and they implement it poorly. Um what's a game that gives you choice but ultimately like all just leads to the same area. I can't think off the top of my head, but there are games that do it, and and I feel like romance too is a big part of that because like having romance options makes games infinitely more.
When they're good, I felt like Valhalla is a good example of a game where I could not have fucking cared less who I romanced. I just did it.
I didn't even know you could do it in that game.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like the choices suck. Like I
That's
don't know.
very much an illusion of choice video game.
Yeah,
Oh,
see, there you
sure.
go. That's perfect.
Like it feels tacked on. Where like some of the RPG stuff is really cool. Like some of the abilities you can kind of slot out and stuff. Some of your like gear, like romance is definitely not matter in the least. And that like really doesn't really seem to. There's like one particular like sex scene that can affect like I won't say like what, but like in the game, but like yeah.
Like, look at Mass Effect 2 though. Like, did the
Perfect
DLC for
fucking
that,
game, man.
the DLC Arrival, right?
That's the
Like,
last one they did.
you
Yeah,
can choose to throw a whole entire planet at the mass relay to. Does that happen no matter what? I'm pretty sure you have the option to save all the Batarians because that's their planet, right? That you throw at the mass relay, regardless. Like, look at that decision. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
choose to save a planet or have your galaxy invaded quicker. Like, it's crazy.
I can't wait for the Legendary Edition, man. As someone
Dude,
who
me
has not
too.
played, I have not played any of the DLCs for any of the Mass Effect games.
What?
Oh
Yeah,
man, so
I
I'm
know-
sorry.
I
I
know
As
totally
somebody who
missing
just
out.
loves two,
No,
like,
it's fine.
I
I love those games.
Layer of the Shadow Broker is one of the coolest fucking DLCs, bro.
I know, and I've heard so many good things about it. The problem is like during that time, I was so against the concept of DLC because like that, like when the Mass Effect games came out, 1, 2, well, by 3 is already a thing. DLCs were still kind of like, like there's some apprehension to them, Like I was like, no, man, I paid $60 for this game. Like I'm not paying any more for extra stuff. I know I was selling myself short, but I was also burned by some games that sold you shit that
you're
that
in for a
wasn't worth
treat
it.
then.
So I can't wait, man, because Mass Effect 2 to me is like my favorite game ever, and Mass Effect 3 is probably my second favorite game. Just the ending, controversial, whatever.
But they fixed that with Citadel, man. If you never played Citadel,
So I can't wait, man. I
so
cannot
good.
wait till that comes out. I'm very, very excited. A little bummed that they didn't make some modifications to the first one. But
They did make a
that's
lot of
okay.
modifications though. Like they did fix.
Like yeah, but I don't. Did they fix the Mako shit? Like that
They
was
did.
probably one
Yeah,
of
they
the-
fixed Mako.
They did.
Okay.
Yeah.
The combat like interfaces, like your health bar and like the
Okay,
stuff is like
then,
smoothed
okay.
over. Yeah,
Yeah, the drilling of the
getting into
Mako thing
covers
was awful.
better. Yeah,
Probably the worst thing. So okay, all right then. I take that back. But I wanted to add about the Outer Worlds. That was a great game that emphasized the journey. The endings of those games like left much to be desired. Like I was just like, okay, I'm done. But the journey there was really really good. In some ways, like Valhalla too, right? Like the ending, whatever. But like the journey, the in between, the beginning and the end was great. But I felt like in the Outer Worlds, your choices mattered in between, and you got more instant satisfaction or gratification from doing different things than the ending itself. The ending almost felt kind of rushed, like, but hey, for a Game Pass game, like I can't complain. But yeah, man, for sure. I do have we have is that the last one? Because I've got an honorable mention that
I
you
got
guys
an
will
honorable
probably
mention
agree
as well. So go, you can toss
Okay.
it out.
My honorable mention is the respec system. I think that is a very, very underrated system because there was lots of games early on where like the only way to do it was to redo the game, or
Yeah.
reload an old save. And I think the having for someone who has like a little bit of OCD, a little bit of anxiety, like a little bit of completionist in them, always, even if I didn't use it, having the knowledge that I know that I could undo everything
Yes.
if I wanted to, gave me such like relief while playing the game. That makes it great. Like I don't use it often, but having that option that I know that if I fuck something up, I could always undo it or fix it without a real penalty or a small penalty. Because there was a lot of games where I would purposely not use my like ability points or upgrade points because I wasn't sure what I would really need. So I would let them sit there for a good chunks of the game before actually committing to something. So I don't know what game first introduced that. And I would argue some games still don't even use it, and they should. But kudos to all the games that include a way of respecing or changing things, and that also includes character appearance. Because damn you if I can't change my character
Oh,
appearance,
I hate that.
from the
Yeah, I'm trying to
beginning of the
look to
game.
see. I can't find like the
Fucking
first game.
cyberpunk,
Yeah.
So like, damn you. Like, I understand if you can't change your like physical actual features, but you can't change your hair, facial hair, all that stuff. Like, I think Red Dead like had it perfect. Your hair would grow. That was really cool and all that stuff.
Your
That's because
beard.
it's the
Um,
best game ever.
it is a perfect game. I don't know if it's the best game ever, but it's a perfect game. But it's not the only perfect game. Uh, listen, man, you got to be more objective. I know you've got a man crush on Arthur Morgan.
I do so bad. But
But
speaking on the respec though, respec's awesome, especially for like new game plus. Like if you've gone through and you've
oh
already
yeah,
like built up your powers how you want, then you can go and like experiment respec and put points where you may have not have put them in your first run through. So yeah, I
yeah,
definitely agree with that.
it's clutch, man.
My honorable mentions, I have two. Like one pretty much needs no discussion other than to say like it's hard to imagine a world without it now. But autosave and checkpoints, like hard to imagine a world without autosaves and checkpoints, but it was huge.
Oh
As
god,
games got bigger, especially like checkpoints more for like making boss runs and things
sanity.
less like, yeah,
For
like
real.
kind of frustrating, but autosaves just because like shit happens, right? Like you lose power, your little brother unplugs your shit, whatever, like you just forget to save. Like, so my other thing is cooking grenades, like, so the ability to cook a grenade like in a Call of Duty or something, like where you can hold and then like the timer starts and then throwing it, like, was huge. I think it added a level of precision and skill besides just putting it on the button, being able to kind of know the timing and being able to use grenades that way so that they were more lethal, more deadly.
Speaking of that, real quick, just something that I think is personally crazy, and I don't know if anybody else agrees with me. I think it's insane that a human being can like look at something like a quarterback can look at somebody 70 yards away and be like, I know exactly how much I need to put on this ball to get it right where he is right now. Same with like cooking grenades or doing anything. Like, you know exactly how long to cook and hold it before you throw to get it to where that guy right over there is.
Practice though, right? Like the first 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 times you cooked a grenade ever in a game, you probably like nailed some, and probably others you either blew yourself up like getting greedy, or you threw it too early and they were able to get away from it, right? Like no different than that. Like it's practice, 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 like repetition, like it becomes muscle memory, becomes instinct.
As well as games where you could have it knocked out and drop it, and then you fuck yourself for holding on to it too long. It's good stuff too, man.
I love doing that, like to NPCs, right? Like if they're going to throw a grenade or something, and you shoot them
Yeah,
and like drop a Molotov on themselves and burn them. It's
yeah,
awesome.
Yep.
it's always fun. Any honorable mentions, Zach, or you?
No, we pretty much covered. Other than the cover system, shout out to Gears.
Oh yeah, cover. Man, we left that one out. Cover systems for third-person shooters is huge, man. Rainbow Six game made that awesome. Gears too.
There were games before it. What was that game?
I feel like
Um,
the Rainbow Six series is probably the tactical shooter is probably one of the
yeah, there was a
innovators in
game on
that.
PS2 though that had it. It had a cover-based
SOCOM,
system.
is it
No,
SOCOM, Medal
oh,
of Honor.
I forget the name. It was a third person. It was third person. I'm gonna
I don't
see if I
know.
can look it up.
First game with the cover system.
Another honorable mention that I just saw right now. Credit to Gamer Assault Weekly. Wanted to see if there's anything out there that we're thinking. The VAT system in Fallout is great, man. That I don't know if I could play that. Get through some of those games without the VAT system. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean it was definitely huge. Like for translating an RPG like that was like turn based into like a first person like real time
Kill
RPG.
switch.
It's still giving you some of that RPG
Mm.
feel. Kill switch, nice. Well, I think we've been going here for about an hour. So if you guys want to save WandaVision, I'm fine with just what we've been playing and bouncing. Adam will probably kill us if we talk about it without him anyway. What do you guys think?
Wandavision? Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know. I
cool
mean,
waiting.
we
Other
can
than
be
just saying
we can
it, like
wait.
overall, the show was awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
I do
overall, I liked it. I
I
will
do
say,
want to say one thing about WandaVision, which we could talk again, and it's the one thing I'm really disappointed of. The Evan Peters thing. The
Yeah,
You
we'll
know,
get into that more, but I'm with you 100%.
cool.
They
Not
knew it too.
fucking
Based off his
no,
name, they
that's
knew it.
I saw
that's
some
in poor taste. It's in
as
poor
fucking
taste.
people like saying
Like,
like, oh, like it's all your fanboy faults. You guys always reach for the sky and you hypothesize and you do this to
no,
yourself.
no,
And
no, no,
I'm like,
no.
yeah, you're right on some things, but I'm like, but also like that is totally fair game to criticize them because
Oh
it's not like
yeah.
they cast somebody coincidentally, you know.
That is purposely fucking with us. That is
Yeah.
absolutely purposely fucking with us. And I hope, I wouldn't say like a retcon. I hope they fix it, or I hope it
There'll
actually
be a
means more than
payoff.
it really does.
I think they like there'll be a payoff at some point.
But
And they
if there
probably
isn't,
yeah,
if
it's
there
dick
isn't,
move.
like that's a fucking dick move.
And maybe not with him, but I mean like, you know, like they like their red herring sometimes with shit like
Well,
that. So,
oh man.
but yeah,
I
we'll get into it.
yeah, I
Like
already I
we'll
just
get
want to
into
keep going. It's so
I will
goddamn
say
good.
I like that show less as it went on. Not that I ever disliked it, but like
I'm
I thought
opposite,
like
man. I liked it more as it went on.
and well,
I'm
it just
with you,
it
Zach.
became so MCU-y. Like I don't know.
That's
Like
what I love about it, man. Like we haven't had that, right? Like MCU, we
look,
were deprived. Maybe that could be it, right? Like we didn't have any MCU. Like we were supposed to get Black Widow and everything.
yeah.
But I think that the show was so unique in how it presented itself and then how it told the story of why it presented itself that way, man. Like
Yeah,
I just
early. Yeah, no, of course, and that's why I like the early stuff better. Like I think the end stuff was good, but it was like that's not what stood out to me, right? Like it's the early shit that made it stand out. Like apart from like, and I hope more Marvel shit. Like even if they end up being MCU like I hope that they take chances more with like some of the presentation and weirdness. Like
well
lean
you
into
you,
that shit. Like
you can definitely already
Uh,
tell like the Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be much more MCU-y, right?
yeah,
Than WandaVision was,
You know what? I'll
which
leave
I'm
you
okay
guys with
with.
this. I'll leave you guys with this when it comes to that. Look, here's the thing, and this is what actually gets me more excited about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. All right, like this is their, this is them starting off with these MCU TV shows, right? Because I mean, the Netflix ones were MCU, but not really, right? They
These are like
really
movie
didn't,
quality.
right? So, but see, before these shows came out, I'm sorry, but I really could not care any less about Vision, Wanda, the Falcon, or Winter Soldier. These were very much like the side characters of side characters in the MCU. The Winter Soldier probably was the most compelling one, but only for his movie. Like
yeah.
after that, he was very much an afterthought.
Civil War,
And
Civil War, he was cool.
yeah, it's Civil War, but I
He's
felt
kind
like
of
he
the
kind of
crux of
lost
it.
his mystique more as he went on. Like
Yeah,
his character started getting more dumbed down, like very more simplified. But what I will say, I don't think WandaVision was a perfect show, but it made me super invested and interested in what happens with Vision and Wanda.
yes, agreed.
It made those two characters suddenly become like just as important as your Tony Starks, your Captain America. It's like it put them to the forefront, gave them the backstory and well, not backstory, but gave them the character development that they needed to be like the focal point of carrying into the next phase of the MCU. So I think it did a good job of that, and it makes me more excited to see the Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier, whatever, which I didn't care too much for the characters, but if they can have the same effect, man, by the end of this season, they're going to be, very very big time characters. So
100%.
that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it did serve its purpose well in that way, and it's no accident that some of the background characters in the first few phases, who are now going to probably presumably be like main Avengers, like are getting their own shows first. Like that's not by accident. They definitely are trying to like kind of pull you in and get you more
Oh
invested.
yeah, especially with what we
Have
know is
to,
coming too, right?
Yeah,
Like it's
especially
all lesser known to not mainstream audience people, and
of
I can't
course,
wait.
you get losing Tony Stark in Captain America is that's a tough thing to follow. I don't know. I think long term Spider Man's going to be that, but he's not there yet. He's still kind of kiddish to be leading everything,
You
So
still got
it's gonna.
Thor though.
But he's isn't he passing off the mantle to Natalie Portman, who is jacked, by the way, man.
yeah.
Doesn't she look great? If that picture is real, but man,
Yo,
like
what a
girl power, man. Like she looks.
that whole storyline. Like if they're going with the storyline from the comics where Jane becomes Thor is
I,
really really good.
I think what you're going to see more of, and this will depend on how well they hit a home run with the doc, is Doctor Strange is going to be I think your Tony Stark. he's going to be like kind of like the
wise
leader
ass.
of this new phase. At least that's what they're going to attempt to do. Whether, I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is a phenomenal actor. Whether he could carry it remains to be seen. But I think he's going to slide into that mentor role for some of these characters.
I just got goosebumps, dude. I can't wait.
So I'm
I'm such a.
excited.
This is gonna be great.
I'm excited. We'll see.
Especially with the. I mean, I don't want to say anything because it'd be spoilers for
We'll,
Wandavision.
we'll,
But
we'll,
like,
we'll see.
yeah,
We're going off on a
We'll
tangent
do
now.
yeah we'll definitely do a like a longer discussion but with Adam on, and yeah, there's been some talk about maybe a separate kind of tangential longer tail idea as well that I will not say out loud, but I will leave you listeners with a tease that we might be doing. But anybody want to plug anything before we go? We're definitely
play Evolve.
No, man. But I'm not playing Evolve yet. But I just finished Hitman, and I think my next game is going to be Greedfall, my dude.
Yo, dude.
Sweet.
So, yeah, all right. You just have to go into it, right? It's a AA game. It's not perfect,
Yeah.
right? But it definitely scratches that BioWare itch, man. It's really good.
I'm between Greedfall and Control Ultimate Edition. I'm gonna play both. I just don't know which one I'm gonna play first. I'm leaning towards Greedfall, but the fact that Control is much shorter is making me think about that one
You never
first.
played Control?
But no, I never bothered.
Oh, it's fantastic. Did
I
you
never
like the
bought.
X-Files
And then
growing up?
I mean, I saw a little bit of it, but I was very young. But
Very Twin
like the
Peaks
fact that the
X-Files.
Ultimate Edition was on PSN for free, and I
Yeah.
got that. Because I know it has some Alan Wake stuff in it too,
It does, yep.
which I love that game. So
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm like now 19 or 20 hours into Persona 5. I'm past officially where I got the last time and loving it. The game's opened up now, and I can I've got the gameplay loop of the social systems, hanging out with friends, playing mini games, doing combat. It's good.
I tried getting into it. I couldn't do it for some reason.
I will say the one criticism is that like it's not that the tutorial is like too much. It's just that like they don't let you get into the flow of the game quick enough, in my opinion. Like where like
people.
What's that?
You could lose someone like a new player along the way.
There's a lot of talking, like a lot of talking, and it's important, like stuff. But there's a lot of talking in the first couple hours of that game, and then like you don't really get a sense of what it feels like until like I mean, in terms of like combat, yes, but like the other stuff that's really the other fun part of the game, which is hanging out with your buddies, going to places in Japan, like Tokyo, like building up your social relationships and developing like your skills with mini games. Like none of that stuff crops up until so late in like the first like 10 hours of the game that yeah, like I feel like they do themselves a bit of a disservice because that's all really good stuff. But
That's another good, like, really, that's another game where they say like choice is really important, right? Like in
yeah, choice
Persona.
is very important. Like developing, like again, the social stuff. Like you don't have to, but making it a point to give people gifts and spend time with them, and like doing the things that they like to do, and learning what it is
Sounds
they
like
like.
Fire Emblem Three Houses.
It is. I mean, Fire Emblem was like kind of like, and I don't mean this like derogatory, but like a little bit of a watered down version of like Persona. So if you like the class part of Fire Emblem, Persona would be your jam, like times a billion, dude. Like,
Yeah. I guess since
it's
you bought it, I might play it at some point.
it's a
Just
great
don't know.
turn-based RPG too, man. Like if you ever grew up playing like Final Fantasy and shit, like it's
Oh, of course. I don't. I love those games.
yeah,
Just
it's
as
good,
much
good
as
stuff. But
real time.
so I'm enjoying it. Continue to enjoy it. I hope I finish it this time. It's big, so it might be a game that I like, dial back a little bit week to week, like play a couple hours here and there. Like we'll see, or who knows, I might continue to go balls deep. But
Right.
that does it for this week's episode. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I appreciate it. Bobby, I don't know if you're back. If you want to say goodbye, you can. If you're not, it's all good. We expect nothing but the unexpected from Mr. Miller here on the podcast. Can take that as he's not here. Until next week, give us a like, share, and subscribe. But we appreciate it. Bye.
Lady.
Take it easy, guys.